All right, my friends, today is August the 26th. It is Monday, a little bit over an hour into the New York session. Let's do the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. Without further ado, let's dive into the macro. So where we're at with the macro is there's been no major changes or requirements for deviations from the original plan. The original plan that we've had for a while now was we're going to continue to be trend respecters. This trend has been really strong up until the past 6 months or so, where we went into this consolidation. I'm going to present the bull and the bear case here, but the main thesis still remains bullish into Q4. So I do want to stress that I really think that you want to be aiming to buy the dip moving forward and looking to be getting positioned a little bit more aggressively on the long side going into Q4, right? So I don't want to spend an hour rehashing the thesis that we've been talking about for 8 months now plus. So we're just going to go ahead and digress from there. It really is pretty straightforward stuff. The question is, are we going to lock in this local higher low and see the front run flows at the end of Q3? I still kind of think that that's what's going to happen.
If you're interested in gaining access to the spaghetti template and learning how to properly utilize it, you should consider joining the Paragon group.
Okay, so for me, this week, my main focus is to be having a huge emphasis on observing Bitcoin flows. We've had a pretty decent start to this recovery thus far, and it's clearly started to show signs of a momentum loss. So I will discuss this in detail on medium time frame, but essentially we're looking for the dip to aggressively get bought back up and for buyers to start to step in. I don't really care if we bleed today or tomorrow or whatever. We could bleed for a couple of days, but we need the buyers to step in at some point and defend the kind of key swing points that we're going to be talking about in here in a moment. Okay, so before we move on to the other sections, the kind of closing thoughts for higher time frame that we want to discuss are what are the essential bull cases and bear cases right now, right? So as you guys know, I'm bullish, but I do want to present the counter argument. So if we are bearish, we could absolutely be setting up for a fourth or a third rather lower high, right? So lower high. We could absolutely be setting up for another lower high, and if that's the case, this structure is terrible, right? We're in a downtrend kind of channel or whatever you want to call it, and that's obviously showing us that there's sellers that have real intent down here, and the buyers are getting weaker if that's the case. So that is what I'm going to be looking for. Signs of momentum loss are already setting in, but it really doesn't necessarily worry me just yet. I want to see sustained momentum loss, and then I would be pivoting back to being more conservative and bearish, definitely. So that's one of the main things to be looking for. The next kind of scenario is that I do think we're going to pull back. So we're looking for basically a shallow pullback. This is what I would be considering the bull case. Shallow pullback, gets bought up, build a base either in the form of a V or a W, right? And then we start to go back up and attack the highs. That's what I'm really hoping for. As far as macro levels, essentially you just don't want to see 60K get lost. It really is that simple. So that's the bull and the bear cases, and that is essentially going to be it as far as I'm concerned for higher time frame. Let's get into the medium time frame. A couple different things we want to discuss here. Okay, so first, talking about the composite structuring. This is kind of boring, but we've talked about it a lot, so let's just rehash it really quickly anyways, right? This is the multi-month composite structuring. We're coming up on 6 months now. We might even actually be at our 6-month mark. The expectation, right, originally was reclaim the VWAP levels and then reclaim the composite structuring. My original doodle was a little bit more of a weaker, upswing and then pullback. Well, since we got a more dramatic move up, it probably looks more like this, right? So this is essentially what I'm hoping that we see this week. Probably going to see a little bit more pullback, but the main thing that we're primarily focused on is flipping the 30-day rolling VWAP, right? I want to see this rolling VWAP get flipped and use as support. This 30-day has been a fantastic trend following tool for quite some time now, so I'm going to continue to lean into that. So flipping the 30-day is going to be extremely important, right? Other than that, there are some other, basically any of the rolling VWAPs or anchored VWAPs, right? So the next really important VWAP is going to be the anchored VWAP from the beginning of the range. That's obviously acting as resistance right now, so we want to see that get flipped. So essentially, these kind of core zones, we're starting to make progress at flipping. That's good. Then we want to flip this one, and then after that, we're chilling, right? I really don't think that the supply up here is going to matter that much. If we can successfully kind of get through this region, then we're off to the races, is how I think that you should be looking at it. So this is going to be the final line in the sand around 65K basically. So first thing that I want to mention with altcoins before I even mention anything is that basically I did my full scan. Very, very few look good on high time frame, and then a small handful look good on medium time frame, and then 90+% of them still look absolutely terrible. So one of the questions you guys probably have for me is, okay, well, if Bitcoin's going to be bullish and we're looking to buy the dip on Bitcoin, well, where, what alts should we be buying, and probably where should we be buying them? Well, keep the, where should we be buying them simple. By VWAP retests for the most part. That's going to be, or profile retests, anything like that. It's going to be pretty straightforward for you. And then what altcoins should you be buying? Almost none of them, guys. Going to be honest. So I'm going to go ahead and run through some of the altcoins that actually look good, but for the most part, they all look bad. So really, I think that unless you have some sort of informational, like AKA somebody gave you insider information around some shit coins, or if you have, some sort of extra edge where you're actually really good at reading fundamentals on these shit coins, for what's going to be the next emerging narrative. If you're not one of those guys, then you probably want to just stick to majors. So that's what I'm going to do until I start seeing an emerging narrative, or I start seeing obvious strength in some sort of sector, or somebody tells me to look at this coin or, region, then, I'm probably just going to stick to majors. So as far as majors go, Solana is the only one that really matters for the most part. Solana is one of the only coins that both has good structure on higher time frame, right? It's consistently trading above the yearly, and it has good structuring, or decent structuring rather, on medium time frame. It's not perfect structuring, that's for sure. I don't really like it. It's not perfect, but it's better than most of the other coins, right? So Solana doesn't look too terrible. That's going to be it for me this week. You guys know my plans. We're finally getting those kind of potential risk on signs, so we're looking for buyers to kind of step in here really soon this week. If they can do that and build us a base for us to mark up again, then going risk on makes sense. Always be prepared for the idea that this local trend that we're on, right? This is clearly a local uptrend, but this could fail just like the other ones have. So you do need to be aware that, I have my plans, but just like I've been preaching for a long time now, just because I want it to go up doesn't mean I'm just gonna blindly position in that way, right? I think that you always want to separate, thesis and what your trade plans are from what your actual positioning is. Sometimes they're going to align when things are working really well for you, but often for traders, you have to separate those two concepts to protect yourself. So that's going to be it for me. Good luck out there this week, and I will see you soon. Cheers.